natin na nasaan ang mga adults in the room. Nasaan na yung mga kailangan mag-unify ng mga iba't ibang panic na may similar na objectives naman dito sa election na yan. Yan po ang hindi natin medyo nakikita. Although today, may mga new feelers na baka pwede pa rin naman. Baka naman, sir. Baka naman. May pag-asa pang na pwede mag-unify yung mga alternative candidates. Kasi yung iba, hindi daw sila opposition. So let's just call them alternative candidates to prevent the return of the Onsion regime to the Malacanang, no? So parang yun po ang tema ngayon. Kaya yung latest meron tayo dito is, alam ko, sabi ko, good Machiavellian ang pag-usapan natin today. Pero unahin muna natin yan bago unahin natin yung opinion natin bago tayo mag-antma, no? Okay, pag-usapan natin ito, Lito Atienza. Ayan, si Lito Atienza, yung yung parating mga Hawaiian shirt. Oo. Daddy ni yun, di ba? Ni Kuya Kim ba yun? Oo, okay. Buhay Representative Lito Atienza, sabi niya, he's hoping na mag-withdraw, no? Na mag-withdraw silang sabay, no? Ni Senator Ping Lacson para to pave the way for itong version nila, PACQUIAO-SOTTO tandem. Ay, ibang klase yan. So, meron tayong Kamao, meron tayong Itbulaga. Yun ang gusto nila mangyari. So, yun. So, sabi niya, very seriously daw, kinoconsider niya mag-withdraw from the vice presidential race. Alam mo yung mga numbers niya? Is he even in top 4 or 5? Oo. Tinanong nga sa kanya kung nag-withdraw siya, dati niya pa iniisip, sabi niya very seriously, sabi naman niya, kaya naman niya i-handle yung mga pressure, physical pressure, etc. Yung mga affairs niya via Zoom naman, kaya naman gawin yung iba, but sabi niya parang it's not helping anymore. A man like Manny Pacquiao, you give him a clean break. Oh, clean break? Wow, talagang mga iba, pang hugot line na yan. Clean break. Sabi niya, ang gusto niya mangyari na lang is yung fellow candidate niya for the Vice President, si Senate President Vicente Tito Sotto, hindi Tito Boy Sotto, Tito Sotto. May nano tayo dyan, sabi natin Tito Boy Sotto, saka ka Tito Boy ka ng Tito Boy kay Tito Boy Abunda. Biglang naging Tito Boy Sotto, ayan. Ang gusto nila, Soto Pacquiao team up. Yun. Yan ang gusto nila. Sabi niya, dapat mag-withdraw na lang daw si Panfilo Lacson. Dahil yung Partido Reforma, di ba? Sino yung head nun? Si Alvarez. Sinong in-endorse nun? Hindi ba si Lenny? Di ba yung press con ni Lenny and Alvarez? Nag-sorry pa si Alvarez na binabash niya si Lenny dati. Di ba yun? Oh. Sabi niya, I'm hoping for Ping Lacson to back out. He already knows the reality of his political position. I hope he backs out too, and that could change the whole structure that could completely demolish, demolish talaga, Bongbong Sara tandem. Pero hindi po natuwa si Senator Lacson, which is quite ironic. Pag-usapan natin na mabuti yan shortly. So ito yung sinabi ni Lacson na, I am not backing out. Hindi ako mag-back out. I-reject ko yan. It is uncalled for to say the least. He should go back to school and study GMRC, good manners and right conduct, which law I authored. Ayan, nag-flex pa. Oo. Doon sa isang interview niya sa Zamboanga del Norte. Wait lang. Oo. Wait lang. Hindi ba si Lacson ang nagsabi few months ago? Di ba yun ang sinabi niya nung hindi nag-work yung unity talks? Kasi yung formula na for unity is, siya na lang yung opposition candidate. Ganun ba yun? Hello, opposition ka ba nung nasa Senate ka? At best, independent ang pwede natin sabihin. Tapos, mas mataas naman number sila Isco at saka sila Lenny sa'yo. Oh, di ba? Lalo nung una pa lang, second, third quarter, di ba? Tapos, ay nako, ito na naman tayo yung mga gusto mag-unify tapos pipilitin ang nila. Oh, ito na po. Last stretch na tayo. Mag-April 1 na ba? Bukas na yan. Bukas na yan. Bukas na April 1. Last 2 minutes na tayo. Last 2 minutes na tayo. Ayan pa rin. Ayaw magpalit sa, ayaw magbangko yung iba. Kailangan natin ng ayaw magpasa yung iba. Yung star player lang pwede mag-shoot dyan. Tapos ang laking haabulin pa. Diba? Ayan tayo. Yan sinasabi ko, wala tayong adults Lahat na lang, iniisip na lang yung So, yun ang sabi naman ni Atienza, he's hoping to get some reaction daw, response in the coming days or so. Sabi na, ito. Sabi ni Atienza yata, ito. Pag nanalo yung Axis na yan, kilala niyo na, kung silang next leaders of the country, basurahan na daw ang papuntahan ng bansa. In the garbage bin. Sa basura, ayan, iba. Malakas ang mga maanghang na salita. Sabi naman ni Soto, eat bulaga. Ayan. He appreciates Atienza's expression of confidence. Sabi niya, I am humbled and will certainly appreciate such a move. Nako! Masakit to, pare. Masakit to. Lito Atienza has and his will always be a true statesman, sabi ni Soto. So, mukhang Soto is open na hindi na si LACSON yung kasama. Ito, sa basis na nakikita ko. So, mukhang bukas siya to team up with someone else. Ang tanong, sino naman? Uy, may debate pala mamaya. Ay, Saturday ba? Ay, hindi, wala pala. Wait lang, mali. Oo. Ito naman si Pacquiao. Ayan. Maganda yung drama natin Ayan. Si Boom! Boom! Yan, mga Oscars. Yeah. You know? Yeah. You know? Yeah. Yan. Yun. Yeah. Yan. Okay. Alright. Ito Itong sinabi ni, ito, pambansang kamo. Wala naman kaming problema ni Congressman Atienza. At sabi naman ng aking katandem na kung may mapili man siya, na kung sakaling hindi niya kaya ay gusto niya si Soto na pwedeng dalhin as VP ko. Diba? Yun po yung sinabi ni Senator Manny Pacquiao dun sa press conference niya sa Iloilo City. So, English natin he does not have a problem with it. And he told me that if he would choose someone to replace him, should he no longer wish to continue, it would be Soto. Okay. Thanks guys for watching my vlog. Dance vlogs. Ayan, medyo natin si Sandra style. Yan. So, ito sabi ni Pacquiao. Abangan nyo na lang yung mga susunod na kabanata kapag nakapag-usap na kami. Ayan, pulaga. Hindi ba kami nakapag-usap? Kaya sabi ko, abangan nyo. Ayan, may mga teaser talaga May mga teaser talaga. Uy, grabe naman. Mag-comment si Jerry. Grabe naman kayo. Tutubig na nga lang ako dito. Ayan, sabi ni Pacquiao. Abangan nyo na lang yung mga susunod na kabanata. Ito po yung sinabi niya. So let's make it English. Just wait for what will happen if we have already talked. And dapat parang kulang yung translation. Wait for the next chapter. Okay. At sabi niya, basta mag-uusap lang kami, depende na kung ano yung pag-usapan namin. Ano pa ba? Alam na natin anong pag-usapan nyo, di ba? Na mag-withdraw si LACSON at mag-team up kayo ni Soto. About sa buhay, about sa politics, pang podcast, about sa buhay. So ito So may mga last ditch, last 2 minutes, past 11th hour discussions na nangyayari po on the potential unification ng mga alternative candidates laban sa yung mahilig sa Ant-Man, yung mga good Machiavellians, yung mga ganon. Alright, so Ayan talaga tayo Ayaw mag-withdraw ng iba. Katulad ng sinabi natin kahapon. Ano ba sinabi natin kahapon? Yan ang kasi ang problema. Yan kasi ang problema. Yung iba, ang iniisip na lang nila, yung the day after elections. Na kung mag-withdraw sila ngayon, baka naman it will radically undermine their base of support. So later on, it will affect their next political moves. And then kung tataya ka naman sa losing party, tapos mag-withdraw ka ba, double damage yan, you might end up also alienating the next administration. Of course, I'm explaining how would a person thinking about his own interest think about this, right? And then, of course, there's also the aspect, alam mo para sa akin, mas maganda natatakbo na lang si LACSON. Kasi, I mean, because if ang objective dito is to prevent good Machiavellians, kutob ko, ang mga second preference na first preference nila si LACSON ay si BBM. So, baka kay BBM papupunta yung numbers ni LACSON. Ilang percent na lang yan? 3, 4, 5? Ayan. So, stay na lang kayo dyan. Sige, stay na lang kayo dyan. Oo. I mean, for me talaga, the dark horse of this race was really Isco Moreno. Diba? Yung dark horse talaga was Moreno. And honestly talaga, as I said, and I'll maintain this over and over and over again, if Moreno did better as a first preference, problema sa second preference number is, wala naman nagiging presidente na, wala naman tayo first runner-up award dito eh. Isa lang mananalo dito. At kung yung conversion quotient mo, ayan, meron tayong ay hindi ganun kataas, second preference ka lang mataas, throughout the race, then wala rin, di ba? But I really think he's got a lot of potential. Not necessarily to win, but to keep this race close between several candidates. Kasi ang basa ko talaga, Isco was the one who was the biggest loser when BBM was picking up numbers. So, Aristotelian sense, the sum is bigger than the parts. So what happened is that when Sara did not run, BBM picked up the Sara numbers. So that's around 30%, plus his own 30 and 15%, that's 45%. And then he pick up another 5+% or more from Isco. So yun yung nangyari dito. Kaya bumaba si Isco, and then ang laki ng akyat ni BBM. At ang kudob ko dyan, marami dyang iba na second preference nila si Isco, mga BBMers yan. Diba? Oo. So, honestly, the only way this race could have become very competitive is if Isco does better. And that raises the question, anong nangyari doon? What happened to the Isco race? I think later on we have to have a proper analysis of this. Of course, I don't want to preempt the elections. There's still a month. Isco Moreno is working hard, going across the country, doing his best. Nakikita natin, he's a very active guy. In fairness naman kay Isco Moreno, he's a very dynamic leader. Alam ko yung mga criticism sa kanya. Pag-usapan natin shortly yan. Pero diba, yun nga eh. He had all of the basic ingredients talaga to make a very, very compelling presidential run. At sa tingin ko, ito talaga yung time niya. Kasi kung naghihintay pa siya, parang mag-move on na. Kasi timing talaga yung presidential run. And the early surveys were suggesting he was very, very competitive. No? Especially Bongbong didn't run, and then with Sara talaga yung showdown. And Lenny didn't run. Mukhang Isco really had a good chance. But I think something really went wrong somewhere, and I'm not gonna blame one camp or the other. But I think the decision to bring in some not core Duterte campaigner, saying that core campaigner siya ni Duterte, I think that was essentially, I think in retrospect, that was the big problem. I think that was where, from then on, nakikita natin na Isco was not doing very well. The communication messaging was extremely all over the place. And you could see even Isco was struggling to triangulate things. Kasi naintindihan ko kasi when pinasok yung one of the campaign people of Duterte to run the Isco campaign, parang I think the strategy there was, let's just hedge our bets if ever either BBM or Sara doesn't run. So wag tayong masyadong anti-Marcos kasi baka naman hindi tatakbo si BBM, so we can pick up the number from BBM against Sara. And wag tayong masyadong super attack naman kay siguro Sara, etc. Kasi baka naman hindi tatakbo si Sara, si BBM ang kalaban, so pick up. So in the meantime, na-alienate yung opposition. Na-alienate yung mga tao na they were saying, okay, if hindi tatakbo si Lenny, Isco na lang, diba? And that was not a small numbers. Let's look at it. Lenny has been going between 15 to 25%. So that's not a small number, right? It may not be big enough to get you a victory, but it's big enough to make a difference, right, in a race. So I think what happened there was Isco made a bet na baka hindi na tatakbo si Lenny at baka hindi tatakbo yun nga eh. At pwede siya mag-pick up on numbers if hindi tatakbo one of those two, yung whether Sara or BBM. But it didn't happen. So in the meantime, he alienated the opposition. It made it easier for the Lenny side to say, oh, kami talagang totoong opposition. And then later on, of course, yung pressure on Isco to drop out. And then Lenny goes in. Now, I know there's a version also criticizing the Lenny side. Okay, so all I'm saying is that I'm not here to judge which version is correct because I've heard both versions. Or actually more than two versions. I'm not here to adjudicate on that. Ang issue lang talaga dito is I think when Isco brought a former Duterte campaign person, not really the ace team of Duterte, but just one of the campaign guy, that made it very easy for the Lenny side to say, see, hindi naman to talagang opposition to eh. Secret candidate ni ano to eh. And so, eto na tayo. Both Isco and Lenny run, and in many ways they're canceling out each other, right? In many ways they're canceling out each other. And at the same time, I think the thing with Isco is that, you know, kasi sayang, because if you look at it, oy, Sar, wag kang mag-insulto dyan, ha? Ay, magbablock kita. Wag tayo bastos dito. Nag-usap tayo ng seryoso. Alam ko vlogger tayo, pero seryoso tong usapan na to. Because I really think Isco has a lot of potential. And I think this was really his time. But I think some really missteps happened in the campaign strategy and all. But, again, nothing is over. Nothing is over. There's still a month. Isco's campaign team is working very hard. There are many people in the Isco campaign, they're very good people. They're very dedicated. They're very devoted. Yung mga people from Raul Roco's party na involved dyan, action people, they're really genuine people. They really want the best for the country, and they want to get out of this polarization between this side against the other. Alam nyo na yung two sides na yan. But yun nga the centrist messaging, I think, was even less ably handled than the Poe Escudero one in 2016. And then we're also seeing essentially the repetition of what happened in 2016, kung saan na-split yung vote between Poe and Rojas part. And at some point, the Rojas people were saying, oh, we have higher first preference, but Poe had so much more second preference, so she had so much more potential to increase her numbers. And then the whole case and everything like that. So we're seeing somehow the repetition of 2016. But then again, there's still 1 month. There's still things that can happen there. And, if you don't want a good Machiavellian to be the next president, etc., you would hope that Isco will do much, much better. Because I think Isco can do, has a lot of potential here. And not necessarily to win, but at least to make this race competitive. Because if Isco picks up, most likely that's going to eat into BBM's numbers. So Isco can go to 25, 30, and then Lenny can also pick up some numbers here and there. Probably, if, let's say, Pacquiao drops out, etc., then the race could be more competitive. The race could be something like 3 candidates in their 30s, right? 35, 30, 38, something like that, or 25, 30, 45, or you know what I'm saying? Parang ganon, di ba? So one thing strange here is that Isco is not being talked as much about, but my contention is Isco is still the dark horse here. And I think if Isco picks up in the final stretch of this race, it can completely change the dynamic of the race. Not necessarily going to make Isco run, but making it much more competitive. Because so far, again, if we are to believe the surveys, it's still a very lopsided race. So yun lang. Again, I'm saying everything I'm saying here is really out of complete goodwill. This is constructive criticism, and I didn't want to overemphasize this kasi hindi pa naman tapos yung laban. Let's still see. And yun nga, hindi naman nakakuha ni Isco rin yung endorsement ni Paolo Duterte after everything, right? And even if it comes now or this month, I don't know how much difference it will make. It should have come back in January, December pa. So there's also that aspect, diba? And then, kaya yun. I mean, honestly, that's really the only way I see this race really tightening up. You know, some of the other candidates who have overlapped with Lenny drop out. I don't think LACSON is that person. Isco picks up, brings his number to 25, 30. BBM accordingly will adjust downwards. And then you can have a more or less 3-way race here. much closer, much competitive. Uh, yun lang. So, I mean, if you're supporting Lenny, you would want to hope Isco will do better. Ganon kasimple lang yan. And if you're an Isco supporter, of course you're hoping that Isco will do better. And if you're a BBM supporter, you hope that Isco will continue to be the number one second preference candidate, which of course is not going to get you anything in our elections. I think sa Colombia, if I'm not mistaken, no, so Gideon Lasco, my colleague at Inquirer, Philippine Daily Inquirer, wrote something about this. Parang ang mangyayari ata sa Colombia, if natalo ka first runner-up or something, meron kang konsuelo. Konsuelo talaga. Pwede kang maging senador. So that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. But anyway, so yun lang. Yun lang ano natin dyan na, yes, I think Isco has really great potential. And for some reason, hindi siya na-realize a lot as much as it should. And there are many good people in his campaign. The action people are really good, dedicated people. Tapos yung mga Isco supporters, napakabait, hindi nagtatroll sa'yo. If they disagree with you, it's very politely done. They'll say, sir, ito po yung konteksto. You know, hindi ako nagpaparinig. Pero yung mga supporters ng ibang candidates, ibang klase. Ibang klase. You just say something na hindi nila gusto. If tatroll ka nila kung ano sasabihin nila sa'yo. You know, that's one of the things that I liked about the Isco campaign is the people who support Isco, right? They're very mabait, polite, quiet, engaging. Among other things. So yun lang. Again, this is not a endorsement of the candidate. I'm just talking about the whole vibes around it. And yun nga, sabi ko, if you want the race to be more competitive, you want Isco to do better. That's just how it is. Love till last. Isa ka pa. Next ka pa mabablock. Sige, mag-troll lang kayo dyan. Sige lang. Alright, okay. So I'll keep it there. I know it's a very contentious issue. At may interview tayo with New York Times. Dito ko na nalagay, watch. May interview tayo sa New York Times and all shortly. So I may have to cut soon. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much for listening to me. I know these are difficult conversations we're having. Ito na, serious na tayo. Serious na tayo. And then also, of course, thank you very much dun sa mga congratulations sa atin for our latest publications na lumabas with Cambridge University Press. Ganun lang naman levels natin. We just publish with, just Cambridge University Press, Oxford University Press. Ganun lang naman yung levels natin. Self-proclaimed analyst